The sapphire caught the candlelight as my mother-in-law reached across the table and grabbed my hand. Not gently. Not asking. Just took it, turning my fingers this way and that like I was a mannequin in her showroom. This ring, Diane said, her perfectly manicured nail tapping the platinum band, would be absolutely perfect for my wedding. Something blue, you know, and it's a family heirloom, so it should stay in the family anyway. The private dining room at Canlis went silent. My husband Ryan nearly choked on his wine. His sister Michelle's fork clattered against her plate. Even Diane's fiancé Gerald looked uncomfortable, shifting in his seat. I stared at my mother's engagement ring. The Art Deco sapphire my father had saved for 9 months to buy in 1985. The ring my mother wore every single day until the hospice nurse gently removed it 4 years ago, 3 hours before she died, and pressed it into my palm. Harper? Diane's voice had that edge. The one that said she was used to getting what she wanted. I'm talking to you. I smiled. Slowly. The kind of smile that didn't reach my eyes. Of course, I said. You can have it. Ryan's head snapped toward me so fast I thought he'd pull something. Michelle's mouth actually fell open. But Diane? Diane beamed like I'd just handed her the winning lottery ticket. Wonderful. I knew you'd understand. After all, Gerald and I are having the ceremony at the Fairmont Olympic, and the photos alone, well, a ring like this will photograph beautifully. So much more elegant than anything modern. That was 4 weeks ago. 4 weeks since I'd made the decision that would either destroy me or free me. 4 weeks of playing the part of the accommodating daughter-in-law while I methodically built my case. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up. My name is Harper Chen, and I'm an architect at a mid-sized firm in Seattle. Not the kind of architect who designs skyscrapers. I do residential work. Custom homes for people who have more money than God but still want to pretend they're down to earth. Good work. Honest work. The kind of work that would have made my mother proud. My mother Catherine was a hospice nurse for 32 years. She held the hands of dying strangers and made their last days bearable. She never made much money, never owned designer bags or took exotic vacations. But that ring represented every sacrifice my father made, every extra shift he worked, every dream he deferred so she could have something beautiful. When she got stage 4 pancreatic cancer, diagnosed on a Tuesday, gone by that Christmas, the ring became more than jewelry. It became a promise. The last thing she said to me, her voice barely a whisper, wear it and remember you come from love. I'd worn it every day for 4 years. Through my wedding to Ryan. Through promotions and late nights and the 1,000 small moments that make up a life. The weight of it on my finger was a comfort. A reminder that I'd been loved absolutely by at least one person in this world. And then Diane decided she wanted it. To understand why this demand was so breathtaking in its audacity, you need to understand Diane. She'd married Ryan's father Thomas when Ryan was 7, played stepmother for exactly 11 years before Thomas died of a heart attack, leaving her with a substantial life insurance payout and a house in Laurelhurst. She'd mourned for about 6 months before diving into the Seattle social scene with the energy of a woman half her age. For 20 years, Diane had been the quintessential divorcee who was technically divorced because widowed sounds better. She chaired charity galas. She redecorated her house every 3 years whether it needed it or not. She name-dropped her interior design clients at every opportunity. And she'd never, not once, treated me like I was good enough for her son. Architecture, she'd said at our first meeting, the word dripping with disdain. How nice. Ryan's father wanted him to marry a doctor. Or at least a lawyer. Never mind that Ryan was a financial advisor who'd met me at a cycling class and fallen in love with the fact that I could talk about load-bearing walls and cantilevers with the same enthusiasm he brought to diversified portfolios. Never mind that we were happy. Diane had other plans. Better plans. Plans that involved Ryan marrying someone from the right family, with the right background, who summered in the right places. I was not those things. My parents had been working-class immigrants. My mother from Taiwan, my father from a small town in Oregon. They'd met at a community college. Built a life. Raised me to work hard and be grateful for what I had. Diane found all of this quaint, at best. So when Gerald came into the picture, a retired Boeing executive with a house on Mercer Island and a pension that could fund a small country, Diane went into overdrive. The engagement party, the bridal shower that cost more than my actual wedding. The constant updates about the venue, the flowers, the photographer who'd shot someone's daughter's wedding in Martha's Vineyard. And then, that dinner at Canlis. Ryan had insisted we go. It's important to Mom, he'd said. She wants family there when they celebrate the engagement properly. Family. The word tasted like copper in my mouth. We'd arrived at 7. Diane and Gerald were already there, along with Michelle and her husband Brad. The private dining room overlooked Elliott Bay, the city lights twinkling like promises neither of us would keep. Dinner was pleasant enough. Diane regaled us with stories about the wedding planning, the florist, the caterer, the absolute nightmare of finding a photographer who understood her vision. Gerald smiled indulgently. Michelle and Brad nodded at appropriate intervals. Ryan held my hand under the table. And then dessert arrived, and Diane's eyes locked onto my ring. I've been thinking, she said, in that tone that meant she'd been obsessing. About the something blue tradition. And Harper, darling. That ring of yours is exactly what I need. The table went still. It's an heirloom, she continued, warming to her topic. And since you married into this family, it's technically part of our family now. Plus, the blue is just perfect with my color scheme. I'm doing navy and gold. Very elegant, and really, when would you wear something that formal anyway? Your work is so casual. She said casual the way someone else might say infectious disease. I felt Ryan's hand tighten on mine. Felt Michelle's eyes on me, wide with something that might have been sympathy or might have been morbid curiosity. Mom, Ryan started, his voice tight. That ring was Harper's mother's. Exactly. Diane beamed. A mother's ring for a wedding. It's perfect symbolism. And I'll take excellent care of it. I'll even have it cleaned professionally before the ceremony. Harper, you understand, don't you? You're so practical about these things. Practical. Another word that meant not like us. I looked at the ring. Thought about my mother's hands, always in motion, always helping. Thought about the hours she'd spent comforting strangers while wearing this ring. Thought about her face when my father had proposed with it. The story she'd told me 100 times about how he'd knelt in the rain outside her apartment building because he couldn't wait another second. And I thought about Diane, who'd never worked a day in her life since Thomas died, who treated charity work like a competitive sport, who looked at me and saw nothing but a disappointing choice her son had made. Something cold and clear settled in my chest, something that felt like the moment before a storm. Of course, I said. I pulled my hand free from Ryan's grip and smiled at Diane. You can have it. The ride home was silent for the first 10 minutes. Then Ryan exploded. What the hell was that? What? You know what? That ring, Harper. That's your mother's ring. You wear it every single day. And you just gave it to her? She's your mother, I said mildly, staring out the window at the passing lights. And it's just a ring. Bullshit, it's just a ring. He pulled into our driveway too fast, the car jerking to a stop. Harper, what are you doing? I turned to look at him. Really look at him. Ryan, who I'd loved for 7 years. Ryan, who'd held me while I cried after my mother's funeral. Ryan, who knew exactly what that ring meant to me. Ryan, who'd sat there at dinner and said nothing when his mother called my work casual. Who'd said nothing at our wedding when Diane had loudly compared my off-the-rack dress to Michelle's custom Vera Wang. Who always said nothing when it mattered. I'm being practical, I said. Like your mother said. I got out of the car before he could respond. Inside our house in Ballard, a modest craftsman we'd bought together, which Diane had called charming in a tone that meant small, I went straight to my office. Ryan followed, still arguing, but I tuned him out. I had work to do. First, I called my friend Jessica. We'd gone to architecture school together, but she'd taken a different path, law school, specializing in estate planning and family law. I'd been at her wedding. She'd held my hand at my mother's funeral. Jess, I said when she picked up. I need help with something. Do you have time tomorrow? For you? Always. What's going on? I need to get my mother's ring appraised and insured. Professionally. And I need documentation of everything. There was a pause. Then, Harper, what did you do? Nothing yet. But I'm going to need a lawyer. The next morning, I took a personal day from work. Told Ryan I had a headache, waited until he left for the office, then drove to Pioneer Square to meet Jessica. She'd arranged an appointment with a gemologist she knew, someone who specialized in estate jewelry and insurance appraisals. His office was in an old building with creaky floors and the kind of lighting that made every piece of jewelry look like it belonged in a museum. "Miss Chen," he said, extending his hand. His name was Arthur, and he had the careful, precise manner of someone who'd spent decades evaluating things most people never thought twice about. "Jessica tells me you have a piece you need assessed?" I handed him my mother's ring. He put on a jeweler's loupe and spent 20 minutes examining it from every angle. Made notes. Took photographs. Asked questions about provenance. Finally, he looked up. "This is a remarkable piece," he said. "Art Deco, circa 1925 based on the setting style. The sapphire is natural. Approximately 2.8 carats, salon origin based on the color saturation. The platinum setting is original, with excellent craftsmanship. The smaller diamonds are old European cut, which is correct for the period." "And the value?" Jessica asked. Arthur named a figure that made me dizzy. $52,000? I repeated. Conservatively. At auction, with the right buyer, it could go higher. The combination of period authenticity, gemstone quality, and condition is quite rare. Most pieces from this era have been damaged or altered. He looked at me over his glasses. "Miss Chen, I hope you have this properly insured. That's why I'm here." He printed out a formal appraisal, complete with photographs and detailed descriptions. Jessica took me to her insurance broker next. Within 2 hours, I had a rider on my homeowner's policy specifically covering the ring. Cost, $800 a year. Worth, absolutely everything. "Harper," Jessica said when we were done, sitting in her car outside my house. "Want to tell me what this is really about?" I told her. All of it. Diane's demand. Ryan's silence. My decision to hand it over. Jessica's expression went from confused to horrified to something that looked like admiration. "You're going to let her take it," she said slowly. "And when she loses it, because of course she's going to lose it, or claim she returned it, or some other bullshit, you're going to have documentation proving its value and your ownership. Her homeowner's insurance will have to pay," I said. "Or she will. Either way, she'll learn that some things can't just be taken." "Harper Chen," Jessica said, shaking her head. "Remind me never to piss you off." The next week was a masterclass in performance art. I played the role of dutiful daughter-in-law with Oscar-worthy commitment. When Diane called to arrange picking up the ring, not asking, just announcing, I was cheerful and accommodating. Of course, she could come by. Of course, I'd have it ready. No, I didn't need her to sign anything. It was family. After all. Ryan watched me with growing confusion. "Harper, are you sure about this? Your mother wants it for her wedding," I said. "It would be cruel to back out now, but it's your mother's." "My mother is dead, Ryan. She doesn't need it anymore." The words came out harder than I'd intended. Ryan flinched. "I'm sorry," I said, softening my tone. "I just mean, it's a ring. It's not her. Diane will take care of it, and after the wedding, she'll give it back, and everything will be fine." Liar. I was such a liar. Diane arrived on a Thursday afternoon, bringing with her a cloud of Chanel No. 5 and entitlement. She swept into our house like she owned it, barely glancing at the renovations we'd done to the kitchen, the new built-ins I'd designed for the living room. "Harper, darling," she said, air kissing near my cheek. "I brought you something." She handed me a Tiffany box. Inside was a simple silver bracelet, the kind they probably kept in a drawer for last-minute gifts. "It's lovely," I said, meaning it was insulting. "I thought you should have something nice," Diane said. "Since you're being so generous with the ring." Generous. Like I'd had a choice. I went to my office and retrieved the ring from my desk drawer, where I'd been keeping it in its original box, a detail I'd made sure to photograph, along with every angle of the ring itself, and the insurance policy, and the appraisal, and the text messages where Diane had demanded it. "Here," I said, handing her the box. Diane opened it and actually gasped, her hand flying to her chest in that dramatic way she had. "Oh, Harper. It's even more beautiful than I remembered. Gerald is going to be so impressed. This is exactly the kind of thing that shows you understand quality. Quality. Coming from a woman who'd married into money and then lorded it over everyone else for 2 decades. "I'm glad you like it," I said. "Like it?" "I love it. You know, I was worried you'd be difficult about this. But you've really matured since you married Ryan. You're finally starting to understand how important family appearances are." She patted my hand. condescending, proprietary. And then she left, taking my mother's ring with her. Ryan came home that night to find me drinking wine on the back porch, staring at our garden in the twilight. She took it, he said. Not a question. She took it. Harper, don't, I said quietly. Please don't. He sat down next to me and for a while, we didn't talk. Just sat there as the light faded and the city sounds drifted over our fence. I should have said something, Ryan finally said. At dinner. When she asked for it. I should have told her no. Yes, I agreed. You should have. I'm sorry. I know. But sorry didn't change anything. Sorry didn't protect me from his mother's casual cruelty. Sorry didn't make him stand up for me when it mattered. Sorry was just a word. The wedding was set for 3 weeks later. Diane sent me a text, not a call, a text saying I'd be seated with Ryan's cousin's family at table 12. Not at the family table. Table 12, near the back. Ryan was furious. That's ridiculous. We're immediate family. We should be at table 3 at least. It's her wedding, I said. She can seat us wherever she wants. Since when do you not care about this stuff? Since I'd realized that caring gave her power. Since I'd decided to play a different game entirely. The morning of the wedding, I woke up early. Made coffee. Checked my email. There was a message from Arthur, the gemologist, confirming that if anything happened to the ring, I should contact my insurance company immediately and they'd begin the claims process. I replied, thank you. I'll keep that in mind. The wedding was at 2. I wore navy at Diane's request, to coordinate with the wedding party and watched Ryan struggle with his tie in the mirror. You look beautiful, he said. Thank you. Are you okay? You've been quiet since Mom took the ring. I turned to face him. Ryan, do you know what your mother said to me at your sister's baby shower? He blinked. What? She said she hoped Michelle's daughter wouldn't marry down like her son did. She said it to my face, while I was standing there holding a gift I'd spent 3 hours picking out. His face went pale. Harper, I didn't. I know you didn't know. You never know. Because I don't tell you. Because what's the point? You love your mother. You want me to get along with her. And I do, Ryan. I get along. I smile and I nod and I let her insult my job and my family and my clothes and I never say a word. Harper. I'm not done. Your mother demanded my mother's ring. The only thing I have left of her. And you sat there and said nothing. You drove me home and got angry at me for giving it to her, but you didn't defend me. You never defend me. That's not fair, isn't it? We stared at each other. 7 years of marriage. 7 years of me bending, accommodating, trying to be good enough for a woman who would never think I was. We should go, I finally said. We don't want to be late. The Fairmont Olympic was spectacular. Diane had outdone herself. The ballroom was transformed into something from a fairy tale. All navy and gold and flowers that probably cost more than my car. 200 guests milled around with champagne flutes, dressed in their finest, pretending this was about love and not about Diane proving she could still land a wealthy man. Gerald looked happy though. Genuinely happy. I felt a brief pang of sympathy for him. He had no idea what he was marrying into. The ceremony was traditional. Diane wore an ivory dress that probably violated some kind of second wedding etiquette, but who was going to tell her? Certainly not me. And there, on her left hand, was my mother's ring. She'd had it resized. I could see it from my seat at table 12. The band looked different, slightly altered to fit her finger. She'd altered my mother's ring. I felt Ryan's hand find mine, squeezing gently. He felt it too, the wrongness of seeing that ring on someone else's hand. On her hand. The reception was a blur. Dinner. Toasts. Dancing. Diane holding court like a queen. My mother's ring catching the light every time she moved her hand. People complimenting it. Her preening, saying it was a family heirloom, very special. Not mentioning whose family. Ryan and I left early. Claimed I had a headache, which wasn't entirely a lie. My head was pounding with rage, carefully controlled, precisely measured. 3 more weeks, Jessica had told me. Give it 3 weeks. That's usually when people start to get careless with borrowed items. She was right. 18 days after the wedding, my phone rang. Diane's number. I let it go to voicemail. Called back an hour later. When I was ready. Harper. Diane's voice was strained. Thank goodness. I've been trying to reach you. Sorry, I was in a meeting. What's wrong? It's the ring. Your mother's ring. I can't find it. I let the silence stretch. 1 second. 2. 3. What do you mean? You can't find it? I wore it to lunch yesterday just to show some friends the wedding photos, and when I got home, I realized it wasn't on my finger anymore. It must have slipped off. You know, I had it resized and maybe the jeweler didn't quite get it right. And, you resized my mother's ring? I kept my voice carefully neutral. Well, yes, it was too small for me. But that's not the point. The point is it's missing, and I've retraced my steps, and I've called the restaurant and it's just gone. I see. So I'm sure you have it insured, right? For situations like this? And there it was. The ask. The assumption that I'd just file a claim and she'd walk away without consequences. Actually, I said slowly, I do have it insured. Very comprehensively. Oh, thank God. So you can file the claim and, Diane, can I ask you something? What? Did you have me sign anything when you took the ring? Pause. What? No, of course not. We're family. Right. Family. So there's no documentation that I loaned it to you? Harper, what are you talking about? This is just a formality. Insurance covers lost jewelry. You file the claim, you get the money, and we can all move on. The thing is, Diane, the insurance company is going to want to know how the ring was lost. And when they find out it was lost by someone else, someone I have no legal agreement with, they're going to pursue that person for reimbursement. Another pause. Longer this time. Reimbursement? The ring was appraised at $52,000. That's what my insurance will pay out. And then they'll go after you to recover that amount. The silence on the other end was beautiful. 52,000, Harper. That can't be right. It was just a what, Diane? Just a little ring? Just something casual. I let the word land. I had it professionally appraised before I gave it to you. Vintage Art Deco. Natural salon sapphire, platinum setting, period-appropriate diamonds. The documentation is very thorough. You had it appraised? Of course. It's an heirloom. I'm practical about these things, remember? I could almost hear her mind working, trying to figure out if this was a bluff, trying to calculate if she could claim I'd given it to her permanently, trying to find an angle. Harper, surely we can work something out. We're family. I'm sure if you just talk to the insurance company. Actually, Diane, I already called them. I filed the police report this morning. You have to, for items over a certain value, and the insurance adjuster is opening a case. They'll probably want to talk to you. Get your statement about how you lost it. You filed a police report? It's required. For insurance purposes. They'll want to know where you last had it, where you think it might be. The restaurant, you said. They'll probably want to check their security footage. Maybe call the other people you had lunch with. Very thorough process. Harper. And of course, if they can't recover the ring, they'll pay out the full appraised value to me. And then, well, they'll pursue whoever lost it for reimbursement. Standard procedure. This is ridiculous. I'm not paying $50,000 for a ring I borrowed. You didn't borrow it, Diane. You demanded it. There's a difference. Ryan will never stand for this. Ryan doesn't get a vote. It's my ring. My insurance policy. My decision. I hung up. Ryan called 10 minutes later. Harper, what the hell is going on? My mom just called me screaming about insurance and $50,000 and, your mother lost my mother's ring, I said calmly. I filed an insurance claim. That's what you do when valuable jewelry goes missing. But Harper, you can't seriously expect her to pay. I don't expect anything, Ryan. The insurance company expects it. They're very clear about subrogation rights. When they pay me for the loss, they recover the money from whoever is responsible for that loss. It's in the policy I showed you last month. You showed me when? The day after your mother took the ring. I told you I'd had it insured. You said that was smart. It was true. I had told him. He'd been watching football and had barely grunted in response, but I'd told him. This is insane, Ryan said. She's my mother. And that was my mother's ring. The one she wore while holding the hands of dying patients. The one my father saved for. The one thing I had left of her. And your mother demanded it, resized it, wore it to show off to friends, and lost it. Those are the facts. You're really going to do this? You're going to make her pay? I'm not making her do anything. I'm just filing an insurance claim for property that was lost while in someone else's care. Everything else is just consequences. The thing about consequences is that they're not always immediate. Sometimes they take weeks to unfold, layer upon layer, like watching a building collapse in slow motion. The insurance company was efficient. They sent an adjuster to interview me, then Diane. They pulled the security footage from the restaurant. It showed Diane wearing the ring when she arrived, not wearing it when she left. They interviewed the staff, filed their reports, and then they sent Diane a letter informing her that they'd be pursuing reimbursement for the $52,000 payout, plus their investigative costs, plus legal fees if she chose to contest it. Diane contested it. That's when Jessica really earned her retainer. She represented me in what became a fascinating legal battle. Diane claimed I'd gifted her the ring. I had text messages showing she'd demanded it. She claimed it wasn't worth that much. I had a professional appraisal. She claimed I should have told her about the value. I had proof. I'd sent her a copy of the insurance policy by email the day after she took it, an email she'd never opened. Every argument she made, I had a counter. Every escape route she tried, I'd already blocked. It took 6 months to settle. Diane's homeowner's insurance eventually paid $40,000. She had to pay the remaining $12,000 out of pocket, plus her legal fees. Gerald left her 3 months into the process. Apparently, discovering that your new wife had demanded a ring from her daughter-in-law, lost it, and then tried to avoid taking responsibility was not the foundation of a strong marriage. Ryan and I lasted a little longer. We went to counseling, talked about boundaries and family dynamics and all the things we should have discussed before we got married. But in the end, some damage can't be repaired. Some silences are too loud. We separated 8 months after Diane took the ring. Divorced a year later. It was amicable, as these things go. We split our assets fairly. Sold the house. Moved on. I used the insurance money, all $52,000 of it, to start my own architecture firm. Small. Just me and 2 associates. We specialize in affordable housing, the kind of projects my mother would have understood. The kind of work that matters. I had a jeweler make a replica of my mother's ring, using the detailed photographs from the appraisal. It's not the same. The sapphire is lab-created. The diamonds are modern cut. But it looks right. Feels right on my finger. And every time I see it, I remember. Not the ring. Not the fight. Not even the satisfaction of watching Diane's perfect little world crumble when she realized she couldn't just take what she wanted without consequences. No. I remember my mother's voice, that last whisper. Wear it and remember you come from love. I did come from love. The kind of love that doesn't demand or take or diminish. The kind that builds and protects and endures. And that's worth more than any ring, any marriage, any family that never really wanted me in the first place. I'm Harper Chen. I'm an architect. I build things that last. And I learned the hard way that sometimes the most important thing you can build is a boundary.